Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking a really unique intersection of modern UFO sightings, spiritual channeling, and, well, cosmic geopolitics. We're going to explore a narrative that takes a real-world mass sighting and explains it through an incredibly intricate universe of alien alliances. Our source material today illustrates this perfectly. We're looking at Ryuho Okawa's book, What is the Galactic Federation Protecting Earth? Now, instead of giving us radar data or government files to explain a massive UFO sighting in Japan, the author uses a highly specific spiritual methodology to tell us exactly who was in those ships and why they were hovering over a major city. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at the Yokohama Arena UFO incident, clarification via alien reading, the Pleiadian migration plan, the vegan space defense mission, and finally, approaching crises and space alliance. Let's start with Section 1, the Yokohama Arena UFO incident. Everything centers on a very specific real-world date, December 4th, 2010. On this day, Ryuho Okawa was hosting a major lecture called the Cantare Festival at the Yokohama Arena. And right as the event wrapped up, literally right after he spoke about the dawn of an era of alien exchange, a massive swarm of UFOs was reportedly sighted in the evening sky directly over the venue. The text presents this not as a coincidence, but as a real-time cosmic response to his lecture. And we aren't talking about just one or two isolated witnesses in a field somewhere. The author notes that an estimated thousands of attendees supposedly saw this incredible event as they were leaving the arena. The descriptions of these crafts are absolutely wild, too. People reportedly captured images of elongated motherships and even spherical crafts that seemed to transform or had wheel-like protrusions. The book argues that this sheer variety completely rules out any kind of standard human aircraft. Moving on to Section 2, clarification via alien reading. So, how do we know who was in these ships? Well, the book relies on a core methodology called alien reading. Basically, it's a spiritual channeling technique. Instead of using radio signals, the author claims to connect spiritually to read the soul memory of aliens reincarnated on Earth, or to directly converse with the consciousness of an observing alien spirit. Every single claim we're about to look at comes directly from this exact process. The text even breaks down the mechanics of how this works. It asserts that complex, advanced alien concepts are essentially downloaded and filtered right through the language center of the person doing the channeling. That explains, according to the book, how these cosmic messages get seamlessly translated and recorded in Japanese. Let's dive into Section 3, the Pleiadian migration plan. According to the channel testimony, the first group we meet are the Pleiadians. And they didn't just show up to say hi, they brought good news to validate this new era of interaction. But get this, they're actually planning a future mass migration to Earth. On top of that, they claim to be studying the teachings of the happy science movement, hoping to create miracles to help turn it into a world religion. But it isn't all peaceful progression out there. During the reading, this Pleiadian entity shows a sudden, profound terror when a totally different alien species is mentioned, the Greys. Listen to this exact quote from the reading. "Ah, scary. I'm scared of the Greys. They abduct you at night, do things to you, and bury monitoring devices in you." This really complicates the interplanetary politics, right? It shows that even these highly advanced, spiritually focused beings are absolutely terrified of abduction and implants by malicious entities. All right, Section 4, the vegan space defense mission. The book draws this really sharp, fascinating contrast between the groups at the swarm. You've got the Pleiadians, who are all about love and peaceful migration, and then you have the Vegans. The channeled readings describe the Vegans as a heavily militarized faction. They act as a cosmic defense force, specifically guarding religious facilities and fighting off aggressive groups, like the Reptilians. They're basically the cosmic heavy hitters. To give you a sense of their scale, the channeled vegan reveals that their specific UFO hovering over the arena was massive. We're talking over 100 meters in diameter. And to run a ship that size, the text claims it was carrying an astonishing 800 personnel right above the event. They weren't just passing by. They were deployed in serious force. You can actually see this confirmed right here in the original Japanese transcript. The interviewer asks for the specifics, and the entity confirms both the 100-meter diameter and the 800 passengers. It brings these tangible, military-style metrics right into a deeply spiritual text. Which brings us to our final section, Approaching Crisis and Space Alliance. So why the heavy guard right now? Well, the author connects these esoteric readings straight to modern earthly anxieties. The text warrants that Earth is facing imminent threats, specifically pointing to rising geopolitical and military tensions involving nations like China and North Korea. But the real takeaway of the book is reassurance. The narrative insists that humanity isn't facing these earthly and cosmic threats alone. Because Earth is considered so spiritually important, the text claims it won't be left defenseless. This quote right here is basically the core thesis of the whole book. The Pleiadian entity promises, in times of crisis, the Galactic Federation will surely come to help. It presents this Galactic Federation as a watchful, highly organized cosmic alliance, stepping in to monitor our struggles. To sum up this grand cosmology, Earth is viewed as a highly valued spiritual center, but we are physically and militarily vulnerable. Since peaceful aliens like the Pleiadians can't fight off aggressive forces, guardian aliens like the Vegans step in. And they all operate under the umbrella of this Galactic Federation, dedicated to monitoring and protecting our evolution. We'll leave you with this to ponder. If a galactic federation truly monitors our geopolitical and spiritual evolution, how might that completely reshape our understanding of human history and our place in the cosmos? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will catch you next time as we continue unpacking fascinating texts and ideas. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this one because, honestly, we are looking at something truly fascinating today. We're going to dive deep into a very specific, highly detailed spiritual text to unpack a narrative that blends cosmic science fiction concepts with some really intricate theology. Our goal here is to neutrally explore the architecture of these ideas, exactly as they're presented in the source, and map out a pretty extraordinary cosmic history. Let's get right into it. So the source material we're digging into is Ryuho Okawa's book, Secrets of the Galactic Federation. Now, just a quick glance at the cover reveals the kind of bold claims we're going to be examining. It talks about massive UFO fleets, extraterrestrial beings from the Pleiades and Vega, and an ancient intergalactic battle against evil cosmic forces. Specifically, though, today we are zeroing in on Chapter 2. This chapter details a highly unusual investigative process, what the text calls an alien reading, which focuses on uncovering the absolute oldest cosmic roots, dwelling within the author's third son, Ryuho Okawa. But right before we get into the actual mechanics of how this reading was conducted, I want you to just stop and consider the core premise driving this entire chapter. What if our human souls hold ancient, hidden cosmic memories? The text essentially proposes that if you tap deeply enough into a person's subconscious, you can bypass their present everyday human identity entirely and access the memories of the oldest cosmic entity residing in their soul's lineage. It is a wildly provocative concept, right? And it sets the stage perfectly for the enigma we're exploring today. To navigate all of this, here is our roadmap for today. 1. The setup. 2. The revelation. 3. Cosmic battles. And 4. Earthly connections. Section 1. The setup. Invoking the alien reading. Okay, so the methodology detailed in Chapter 2 involves a very precise 3-step process to conduct this alien reading. First, they enlist a spirit guide, specifically the spirit of the famous American clairvoyant Edgar Cayce. He's there to act as an observer and essentially validate what's being said. Second, the subject of the reading itself. They are tapping into the subconscious of Ryuho Okawa. The author actually notes that because his third son hadn't been heavily investigated before, he wanted to see exactly what truth would naturally emerge from him. And third, the main objective. The author is attempting to bypass all recent past lives and speak directly to the absolute oldest cosmic root residing deep within Ryuho's subconscious. To kick things off, the author begins with this formal, really intense invocation. The transcript captures the exact phrasing, and it goes like this. Soul of the oldest universe, soul of the deepest cosmic bottom, please emerge and show your form to us and convey your words and thoughts to us. It's an incredibly dramatic moment in the text. It sets this tone of deep reverence and anticipation for whatever ancient consciousness might actually respond to the call. And then the text documents a highly specific detail. About 30 seconds of profound silence. You can literally imagine the tension in the room during this pause. They're just waiting to see if this deep, subconscious cosmic memory is actually going to surface and, in what form it will eventually present itself. Section 2. The Revelation. The Commander emerges. Okay, let's dive into this because this is where the narrative vastly expands in scale. The text gives us this striking visual description of the entity that finally broke that silence, the cloaked Supreme Commander of the Andromeda Galaxy. It's described with this imposing, heavy presence, complete with starry motifs on the cloak. The text portrays this entity as a staunch protector of cosmic justice, someone who commands massive fleets across the entire universe. But right in the middle of this profound reading, the author questions the entity about its somewhat unusual physical appearance. So the interrogator basically notes that the entity looks a bit like a giant bear, which is kind of funny, right? But the commander clarifies this brilliantly. It explains that this is essentially an Earth standard mode. The entity states that its true form is far too powerful and abstract for us to handle, so it deliberately adopts a humanoid, albeit massive and slightly bear-like appearance, a form that symbolizes sheer strength, just so human observers can safely perceive and comprehend its power without being totally overwhelmed. It's a fascinating concept. It's almost like a cosmic user interface for the human mind. Now, the really crucial point here is how this ancient being fits into the broader theology of the text. When asked about its relationship to El Cantare, who is the primary deity in this spiritual framework, the commander reveals a highly complex hierarchy. The commander states that, strictly in terms of the cosmic timeline, it is actually much, much older than El Cantare. However, paradoxically, it functions as a localized, specialized manifestation of El Cantare's courage. Basically, it exists to embody the combative, protective aspects of that primary deity. Section 3. Cosmic Battles. Defending the universe. Once the commander firmly establishes its identity, it starts recounting its vast intergalactic history of warfare. And honestly, the scale described in the text is absolutely staggering. The commander maps out ancient front lines across multiple star systems. It talks about originating in the Andromeda Galaxy, which, to put it in perspective, the text notes is 2.3 million light-years away. From there, the commander details establishing bases in the Magellanic Clouds, specifically near the Zeta Star. The transcript also recounts these intense, repeated battles in the Alpha Centauri system, fighting desperate conflicts around the Alpha, Beta, and Gamma stars. So, yeah, we aren't just talking about a local skirmish here. The text is laying out a sweeping, multi-galactic theater of war. And the tactics of these cosmic wars, they are equally staggering. To combat this relentless enemy, identified as the Reptilians, the commander explains a strategy of forming alliances with the consciousness of planets that do not harbor biological life. They do this to create these vast, defensive barricades across space. The text details a brutal back-and-forth struggle. We're talking about being overrun by reptilian attacks, orchestrating narrow escapes, and then launching massive counteroffensives to recapture lost star systems. Section 4. Earthly Connections, Tying the Cosmos to Shinto. After expanding our view across literally millions of light years, the text suddenly pulls all these sci-fi concepts rapidly back down to Earth. When the interviewer asks the commander if it is ever actually incarnated here, the commander confirms that it has. But then, it ties its cosmic identity directly to the central creator gods of Japanese Shintoism. The text claims that the Supreme Commander of Andromeda is the true extraterrestrial identity behind Ame no Meina Kanushi and Kuni no Tokotachi, the primordial deities recorded in Japan's oldest historical chronicles, the Kojiki and the Nihon Shoki. So the source material is actively synthesizing ancient Earth religion with this ongoing, sprawling narrative of a galactic federation and cosmic defense. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought to ponder. By treating an individual's subconscious as a repository for millions of years of intergalactic history, and by reframing ancient Earth mythology as the ongoing work of cosmic commanders, the text offers a radically expanded view of what human consciousness may actually contain. It is a remarkably intricate puzzle of ideas that we've mapped out today. So what does this all mean for our understanding of who we are? Well, that's something to chew on. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore the complex architecture of this fascinating source material.